President Trump this morning on Fox and Friends, he said he will attend the funeral for Charlie Kirk. We're not privy yet to information about those arrangements, and we'll be getting that information, I would assume, fairly soon. But the president spoke very movingly about what Kirk meant to him when he was on the couch this morning with Fox and Friends.
You know, Don said to me, he's sort of like a son to you. He was an unbelievable talent. But he was more, it wasn't really so much a talent. He just really believed it. He just believed it. He loved young people. He wanted to help young people. And he didn't deserve this. He was truly a good person.
I spoke a short time ago with Donald Trump Jr. Don, great to have you with us. I'm so sorry for the loss of this deep friend to all of you and to so many of us as well. He was a wonderful young man with a huge future ahead of him. And now we're learning. We've seen a picture of Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. The reports are that his father helped to bring him in, which must have been, you know, you can't even imagine that situation for a family. Now that we have a sense of who this person is, this suspect, what goes through your mind as you look at this picture of him?
It's just been very hard, Martha. When you think about what's gone on over the last few years, when you look at the vilification of Charlie that I'm seeing, every day since then, the celebration of his assassination in cold blood in front of his wife and young children, it's truly disgusting. I mean, what was Charlie's real crime? He spoke truth. Every day, Martha, he platformed his biggest detractors. He gave the people who hated him most an opportunity to argue their standpoint, to have that in polite conversation. And he did a great job with that. The reason he was so effective with so many young people was they heard these arguments. And you realized very quickly when Charlie was conversing very cordially, again, with those leftists, that, wow, not only is the Democrat argument, the idea is bad, it's outright asinine in so many cases. And that's why he was so effective. And that's why he was a threat. He wasn't a threat because he posed any kind of actual physical threat to anyone. He was a threat because he was incredibly effective at taking their narrative and destroying it. That's why he was so good at what he did. So it's really hard to see this when I see the picture of the shooter and a young radicalized person. And I believe the reports about all of the trans propaganda inscribed on the cartridges in the rifles. I mean, these are exactly the kinds of things. Charlie's crime was talking about God, family, country, all those things that are verboten to Democrats. God forbid you like those things. God forbid you like the Constitution. The true crime is saying, that men can't be women and men shouldn't be playing in women's sports. I mean, these are not exactly radical concepts, although when the left realizes that you're losing arguments, they resort to this violence. But I see the constant, the violence goes both ways, and it does not, Martha. The violence is going one way. I've had to deal with, 3 shootings like this to people really near and dear to me in the last 14 months, and I'm getting sick of it.
We've learned a little bit about these engravings, and so far, 2 of them are kind of difficult to understand. One has to do with an anti-fascist song in Italy in World War II. The other one says, "Hey, fascist, catch this," on the bullet, which is just chilling. When you look at this young man and you think about how, honestly, I can't get over how many similarities there are to Thomas Crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania, Don. These are about the same age, these young men. Neither one appeared to have any social media profile. In both cases, you have someone who was on the scene, who has a cell phone video prior to the shooting. Hey, look, there's somebody up there on the roof. The setup is very similar, an outdoor venue, a rooftop about 150 yards away from what we understand. And these young men who, in this case, got off this perfect shot. I'm curious what you think about that as a hunter yourself. What stands out to you when you think about how similar these are?
Well, it's amazing to me. I don't understand fully, Martha, how a 20-something-year-old kid can get radicalized today without a online presence. That doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah.
unless, again, they've been scrubbed because they're trying to cover up their tracks or their actual motive because it would be worse for their cause or whatever that is. I don't want to speculate on that. I mean, I do find, and I know Charlie and I spoke about this frequently, sort of the irony of the anti-fascists these days. They seem to be taking a lot of playbooks out of the fascists, out of the browncoats. I mean, if you don't agree with someone, kill them. I mean, that seems quite fascist to me. So, I wish we would stop calling them Antifa because there's nothing anti about their fascist tendencies. It's absolutely disgusting. But there is something very odd that someone could get that radicalized with none of those footprints. So, I don't want to speculate. I don't have any additional information about what these things are. But I will say, watching the left turn this violent when they don't get their way, it's almost as though, Martha, they know they've lost the plot. They know they've lost the debate. So rather than lose the debate and adapt, or maybe, I don't know, wildly, come up with a better idea or a better concept or be reasonable, implement some common sense, they realize they lost the debate entirely, so they have to resort to violence. And contrary to what we're seeing elsewhere and online, it is not going both ways. It is going one way. It's coming from those aligned with the Democrat Party. The hate has been fomented by those in the Democrat Party, and you can probably play hundreds of hours of those clips. It's coming from the media. Some of them are doing a quick course correction and probably scrub their social media feeds for all the things they've said about Charlie, myself, my father over the last few years. But you can't call someone who you disagree with or simply can't win an argument with a Nazi, a fascist, a dictator, a greatest threat to democracy in the history of civilization, and then pretend you had nothing to do with it when the more radical wing, and there does not seem to be all that much difference to me these days, takes up arms and tries to kill those they disagree with. It's not one way. It's not both ways. It is simply one way. And anyone who's saying otherwise, should be thrown off the air.
Let's play this from Governor Cox. He spoke just moments ago. He said, I've never felt so angry and so sad in such a short period of time in his life. Here's what he had to say just moments ago, Don.
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history, yes. The question is what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history?
What's your reaction to that?
I agree with him. I mean, not to use the pun, but I definitely think it's a turning point. When I see what's going on online on both sides, I see the left celebrating these things, and I'm seeing the reaction of the right, who's finally waking up and understanding exactly what it seems that they would love to do to us. I mean, I know, they wanted to put me in jail, and they tried to kill my father twice, and they wanted to take away his businesses, and they wanted to throw him in jail too. And you see the scores and scores of this, again, only coming from one side. I've had those conversations with Charlie so many times. I mean, he was able to go out there under, threat all the time because he truly just believed in his faith. He believed in the mission. He believed in God and that he was doing the right thing for our country. And I agree with him 100%. I think he'd want us to make sure that we recognize that threat, that we act as he would, but that we remain unafraid, that we get out there and have these conversations. Because the only way I think at this point that the Democrats and the left actually win this argument is if they're successful in silencing us, in putting us in fear, making sure we never have that dialogue. The silent majority is real. It's there. When we started talking about these things on college campuses, Charlie and I, back in 15 and 16, where that was unheard of for a conservative group to go into a college campus and try to win them over. When you have that dialogue, you realize, wait a second, there's a lot more people with us than against us. They've just been pressured by so many things. Again, the media, social. I mean, it felt like an insurmountable obstacle for so long. I don't think that's the case anymore. You see so many people who are apolitical but reasonable, perhaps even left-leaning and reasonable, being like, okay, this has gone too far. This is insane. So I think if we do what Charlie had tried to do for years, which is bringing people together, uniting them in a common cause for what's going to be good for our country, our children, and most importantly, our civilization, I think if we keep that going and don't become afraid, Charlie's legacy will be well served.
More of my interview with Donald Trump Jr. coming up later this hour.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.